The one that we're pushing for the most is for President Sisi to issue a pardon, because that would mean that the conviction is reversed, that it would be recognized that they didn't commit a crime, and that would apply to all journalists, not just those who are foreign, because the second route would just be for Mr. Fahmy and not his colleague, and that would allow him to be deported to Canada.
He's repeatedly said that all the journalists who are in prison are those who have been linked to the Muslim Brotherhood. They're not there because of journalism.
Well, he hasn't said that about this case, ever. He has said consistently about this case that he wished it had never happened, that it's been damaging to Egypt's reputation, and that he would seek to intervene. You know, it's ironic that the charge here and what, you know, the conviction was for tarnishing Egypt's reputation, when the thing that the international community condemns Egypt for is this case and similar cases. This is what's tarnishing Egypt's image, and I do think he's aware of that, and he has a way to fix it.
But he's always made it clear that a pardon is only after all legal avenues are exhausted, and they haven't been. So it could be years of the appeal.
Well, but then there's never an end to it. I mean, there is a break now in the judicial proceedings. Similarly, there was a break in the judicial proceedings when Peter Greste was deported, and that was considered sufficient to allow the executive to intervene then.
As you know, it's a very sensitive case in Egypt. What do you say to Egyptian media who say that you insult the Egyptian judiciary by your strong criticisms of it?
I have more freedom to say what I want than lawyers, who practice here all the time. But I think that those prosecutions are very problematic. I think all of these types of offences just have a very serious chilling effect.
Why did you take on this case?
Lise, I think for the same reason that you're reporting on this case, and the same reason there were so many journalists in the courtroom when the verdict was announced. I think we all know what's at stake. It's obviously, individual journalists, but it's much bigger than that. It's media freedom in Egypt and in the region. This is a case that was going to set a precedent one way or the other. And it's also about the integrity of the judicial process. Are the judges going to uphold individual rights, or are they going to allow their courtrooms to become instruments of political propaganda? I wanted to be able to play a role in trying to right that judicial wrong and make the precedent something more positive for the country.
Would you take on the broader issue of press freedom in Egypt? Because, as you know, there are now more than 20 journalists who are in prison, many of them accused of having links to the banned Muslim Brotherhood, that it doesn't begin or end with the Al Jazeera journalists.
I've read all of the worrying reports that you've read too, that this is the fourth highest number of journalists in the world who are in prison, that it's the worst record Egypt's had since reporting began in 1990, and it's something that's very concerning. I would certainly be open to working on other cases like that. And in other countries I work on similar cases. It's not always journalists, but cases where governments are persecuting opposition figures and trying to stifle dissent or political competition. Next week I'll be in the Maldives to represent the former president, Nasheed, who has been subjected to a politically motivated trial, again recognized widely at the international level as being a sham process. And these are exactly the kinds of cases that I do work on, and where you face many challenges, but it's certainly a goal worth fighting for.
Is it frustrating for you that even when you take on tough cases like this, some of the reporting on the case refers to you as the wife of the actor George Clooney?
All I can do is continue to do the work that I've done for the last 15 years. I would hope that the reporting would be professional and responsible, and if ever there was a case where I would trust journalists to focus on the issues, it's this case, because it's about freedom of journalists to be able to do their job without being thrown in prison. So I look forward to reading hopefully professional reports of what's happening here.
So you ignore it?
There's not much I can do to control it except keep going, and I think when people criticize journalism that focuses on the wrong issues, that's heartening, and that shows that people expect more from their press.